So welcome to the Node.js Next 10 meeting for 27th of September 2021. So far it's just me and Jean, but we are going to get started. First of all, I am going to, so let me open up the, where did I put it? There we go. Okay, I'm opening up our Google Minutes doc. We have on the agenda is the first one is build, provide pre-built Node.js images or cache. I think Tierney had started to look at that, but I don't think there's any update this week. Let me just take a quick look. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of discussion. So I think there's been some experimentation, but I don't think we have anything that we would roll out quite yet. Yep, definitely some work on that. So that's progressing. That's good. The next thing, which is 89, and I think that's where we'll probably stick. We're working to get a better time because this time doesn't seem to work for as many of the participants anymore. But we at least want to look at 89, which is is that the right one? Okay, so sorry, no, that is the documentation deep dive, which I think we need a few more people before we could start that deep dive. But what I want to do, yeah, 84 is the one I think we should look at, which is the draft content for the list of technical priorities that we want to do those deep dives in, and for the PR that we want to PR in to the Node core repo is kind of the high level priorities based on the discussions we had, the mini summit we've had, to give us some focus in terms of where we do those deep dives and what we think is important. So what we've got so far, and I can just share that here. Is this draft, which mostly put together by myself and Jean. And based on the output and discussions of the past work, like our brainstorms and then the mini summit, we have modern HTTP, suitable types for end users, documentation, WebAssembly, ESM, up-to-date JavaScript support, observability, permissions policy security model, and better multi-threading support, and a single binary. And we've gone through and put together some high-level descriptions of each of what those are, which is what we plan to PR into the core repo as a starting point, and then we could sort of come up with more concrete things that we would want to do on each of those in the deep dives. So I know, Jean, you've taken a look. Did you have any things we should discuss or comment on this?
I think it's pretty good. We should just see if we want to have that, let's say, at least PR in one time, or should we split everything in subpart? Because I think some people could be interested in HTTP and other absolutely not. So
I think we should PR this in as like one high-level doc.
Yeah.
And then we may come up with other things like, I think, we're planning to do a deep dive, say, on HTTP, right?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
And we should then, maybe that's then where we'd have separate things like, here's the initiative, maybe it's a TSC initiative, or I don't know what, but like that would point to, because I think we actually have some of those initiatives started even.
Yeah, in that case, we maybe when we PR that, we should try to also propose some kind of time frame or time slot to organize, let's say, a 1 or 2 hour, I don't know how many time it would take to really discuss a bit more about one specific subject.
That's a great idea. Instead of like a next 10 slot, like say, maybe the comment of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to have some time slot already prepared on that. Maybe we can share them if some people want to go to the first one, but they're not able to. But at least it won't be just a PR about we have some description on that and to be continued. At least we will have some slot already to discuss about that. I think it will be more complete to do it that way.
Yeah, like I think we could say, please comment if you're interested in getting, in jumping into the deep
Yeah.
dive for HTTP, for types for end users, for whatever, right? And some of them, like the modern HTTP, I think there was already a group working on, say, Indici, right? And that's probably the group that we should do that deep dive in, or
I think James worked on that at least a bit, and he presents something on the several web framework working group. But I don't know what the status right now. So yeah.
Yeah, and I know Ronag has done a bunch of work, but yeah, it's a very good point that we should sort of say, okay, who's interested in each of these different areas, and how do we either tap into what's already going on so that we can explain.
Yeah.
I think like the HTTP one is the perfect example where there is work, but you'd want to be able to go from like, here are the priorities once this lands, to where's the work that's going on, right?
Yeah, and like you said, to provide some kind of link also if some work already started, to let people to be aware of that and to jump in if they want.
Right. Yeah, like whether these should go in under like TSC, strategic initiatives or other things. But yeah, that's it's a good idea to both on the deep dives and on the, like, where do we track it? We should cover that in the PR as well. Okay, so I think that's like I've sort of gone through, and I think it's obviously we're going to get lots of good comments, discussions to improve what we've got there, but this is a good starting point, and I think it's a good next step to create that PR to get that discussion going. So it sounds like you're pretty happy with that too. So let me just, I'll take the action to create that PR, and we'll go from there.
Okay. If you prefer, I can do it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it, and then we'll get it landed. And then just looking at then what else we had on the agenda for this week. The key technical areas, brainstorm to generate list, I think 39. This is kind of what we were talking about in terms of, yeah, we've got the easy retro. I think I can just close that one out actually once we create that part.
Yeah, because
oops, it actually says closing.
Okay.
I forgot to close it. Let me just close the issue so it doesn't show up next time. I know sometimes I do that. I put I'm going to do this, and I didn't. I think, until we get a few more people, I think it doesn't make sense to deep dive into any of the other sections. So maybe we'll close out with that this week.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay. Well, thanks, Jean, for taking the time to make it. And yeah, we'll work for everybody else. There is a Zoom. Sorry, there is a Google, not a doodle out to try and find a better time for other people. But I guess we'll see everybody in the next meeting. Thanks.
Thanks.